So throughout this video, we're going to learn about expressions that contain exponents or powers and how to evaluate those particular expressions. So to start, we're going to take a couple of notes on exponents. So here it says exponents are used to represent what is called repeated multiplication. So it's just a fancy way of representing something being multiplied by the same value multiple times, something that's being repeated. Now, inside of this exponent, and you can see you have 3 raised to an exponent of 5. 3 is called your base. So it's the base number. It's the number that is being repeatedly multiplied. And then the 5 is called your exponent, or sometimes referred to as a power. And it basically says how many times the base is multiplied by itself. So what this exponent problem is actually saying is take this base of 3 and multiply it by itself 5 different times. So this is called exponent form, and when we actually write out the repeated multiplication, this is called expanded form. So what this really means is we're taking 3 and we're going to multiply it by itself 5 times. So this means 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. So we can write it in exponent form, or we can write it into expanded form by using what the definition of an exponent actually means. Now, in words, the way that you should be saying this is 3 to the power of 5, or you can say it as 3 to the 5th power. But that's how you'll hear it in the world of mathematics. So be aware of those vocabulary terms and how to convert from exponent form into expanded form. And lastly, we're going to take the math statements below and write them into exponent form. So sometimes being able to just read them or to be able to understand what a vocab term means can be a really important math skill. So here we see 4 squared. Now squared is a fancy way of saying power of 2. So this is really 4 to the power of 2. That's what squared means. Then from here, 7 cubed. Cubed is a fancy way of saying power of 3. So this is really 7 to the power of 3. Then this one is 2. That's our base to the 6th power. So we have 6. And 3 is our base to the 4th power. So you see 4. So here we're going to practice actually evaluating exponents without a calculator, and the easiest way to do this is to start by writing each of them into expanded form. So here I see 3 to the power of 3, which I know is 3 times 3 times 3. So I start by writing it into expanded form, and then I apply what I know about multiplication, which is that I multiply from left to right. So I start by multiplying these two 3's together, which is 9, so they've been evaluated. And I'm left with 9 times 3, which becomes 27. And then from here, 8 to the power of 2 is 8 times 8, which I know is 64. Then here, negative 2 to the power of 4, so I'm going to write negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. And then again I evaluate from left to right. So here I start with these two negative 2's. A negative 2 times a negative 2 is a positive 4. And then from here, well, 4 times negative 2 is a negative 8. And negative 8 times negative 2 is a positive 16. And then finally here we have negative 1 times negative 1 times negative 1 times negative 1 times negative 1. So I start from left to right. -1 times -1 is a +1. So I still have 3 more that I need to evaluate. So 1 times -1 is -1. -1 times -1 is back to a +1. And then that final multiplication of 1 times -1 is -1. So you can see just writing it out and going from left to right can really help and prevent you from making any sort of error.